There's a tension between our core constituencies in the inner cities and the outer suburbs and regions. That's the reality, and there's no use pretending otherwise. So the challenge is not just to hold on to votes, but to attract the best of future generations to become the activists and community leaders we need for the future. That's our challenge. And in this debate about Labor's purpose, and in this contest for the young, the answer lies not in the fringe issues of the far left, but in the bread and butter idealism that says it all begins with those two words: prosperity and opportunity. Our passion is not for dissent. Our passion must be for action, not ranting, but reform. And we should be frank about the challenges of selling that proposition. Inevitably, in busy lives, people of intelligence, passion and commitment may distill those energies into a single cause. I certainly don't belittle that. I understand why that happens. But I do say this to the politically committed of this generation: it's Labor, for all its imperfections, for all the things that may not happen quickly enough, that is the hope of the side for advancing progressive causes right across a broad front. Our political shoulders are broad enough, our history is deep enough, our talent is strong enough to make reform happen. Now, it won't always be the charge of the Light Brigade, it won't be spectacular, history-making and futile, but we will win more battles than we lose, and our achievements, whether they be beating a recession or introducing Medicare, are enduring monuments to progressive achievement, and we should be proud to say so, and we should be shouting it from the rooftops. Joining Labor doesn't mean signing up to an unworldly idealism which leads to an inevitable disillusion. Membership of the Labor Party is a summons to public service. It's a cause bigger than ourselves. It is an expression of love for our country and for our people. And it all begins with those two words I spoke about before: prosperity and opportunity. That means education and employment. Ours is an idealism that says, of course, we can create and protect opportunities for everyone who wants to work. Of course, we can add another 380,000 jobs over the next 18 months to the 650,000 jobs that were created during our first term. And we've done that despite the sharpest global downturn in living memory. And of course, we can face the people in 2013 having created 1 million jobs and saved so many more. So many more jobs saved. What an achievement that is for the country. Now, of course, we can make opportunity and social mobility the birthright of every Australian, no matter where they are born, or who their parents are, or what school they went to, if we can continue to create the jobs. Not just the number of jobs, the quality of the jobs, and the decency of the conditions that go with them. So, our jobs focus may not be the most exciting expression of our mission, but I tell you this, it is the most important, and it is the most enduring. It's the one idea that unites all of our movement and unites all of our country. So a focus on jobs has never been more important. I'm not one for slogans, but I know the purpose of our politics when I see it. I saw it in the eyes of every one of my colleagues when the global recession hit. I saw it in the eyes of my community when they felt threatened. I saw it in the eyes of the small business people who didn't think they could keep the doors of their business open. I saw it in the eyes of grandparents who were wondering what was going to happen to the families of their children. And I saw it in our policy response. Our policy response was built on conviction. Our policy response was built on the conviction that we needed to protect those who could least protect themselves from the worst that the world could throw us. So when the global recession hit, history called on us to do remarkable things at a remarkable time. And we did it. We did it against the determined opposition of the Conservatives, who would rather have seen the country fail than a Labor government succeed. They didn't put a priority on jobs. At the height of the crisis, I drew a parallel between the experience of the Swan government in 1929 and the Rudd government in 2008. Both were elected with very high hopes for reform, both with great plans in the policy tank. Both were hit by very severe economic turbulence. History records that through the lack of the necessary financial acumen, experience and policy levers, Scullins' government failed. But we learned lessons. We all learned lessons from that history. We learned to employ the right policy response, and we learned to hold our nerve. As a result, when the history books are written, our response will be regarded as one of the more successful moments in Labor's history. Thankfully for Australia, 2008-9 lacks the tragedy of 1929-1932 because it protected the jobs, the homes and prosperity of the great mass of Labor's supporters, and it kick-started crucial nation-building infrastructure. These are among the party's finest and most noble achievements. Now, to those who argue the GFC was an illusion, that mass prosperity was not threatened, I say look to the United States today, mired in a deep recession, deepening social inequality, and where the answers there are being sought in the cheap populism of the Tea Party, not in public policy. Or for that matter, look to Europe. By contrast, we beat recession in a way that helped battlers first, protected their jobs, kept their savings intact, raised their pensions and their take-home pay, and rebuilt their schools and social infrastructure. It just shows what a progressive party can do when it has the right values. With the right values, we can succeed, we can achieve against immense challenges. Now, Labor's history is often, some say too often, written as a series of glorious defeats. In fact, we're probably one of the only country where history is often written by losers. This time we can write a chapter as winners. We can write a chapter as winners. And more importantly, we can write the next chapter with confidence. We can propel this country forward into the future, unshackled by mass unemployment and business failures that have ruined other countries. With a bit of commitment and foresight, we can harness the investment that comes with the mining boom Mark II and really set this place up for the next 10 or 20 years or more. It's exciting to think that we can be the party that builds the NBN, that puts a price on carbon, that boosts superannuation and all the rest. As our response to the global financial crisis demonstrated, Labor isn't about gesture politics or political theory. We're about reform in action, the collision of ideas with the realities of Australian life. And of course, that's where books like this one we're talking about today come in. They feed our hunger for reform and they keep us up to the mark. They nourish our philosophy, they inspire us and spur us on. You can't survive 120 years as a political party without books like these. And because we're a party of reform and action, our debate and renewal should be focused on what we can achieve. Not looking in the rear vision mirror, not debating abstractions without practical application, but using honest and robust exchange to enrich and strengthen the practical possibilities of the future. Today, of course, there is a new generation, like the editors and authors in this volume, including my good friends Dennis Glover and Paul Howes, that keep thinking and publishing, and they keep the debate going. They know, like I do, that Paul Keating was spot on when he said politics is an ideas market. And when you run the ideas, you run the market. The wealth of ideas in a book like this is one of the reasons why I'm such an optimist about the Labor Party's future. After 36 years of activism, I'm more fired up behind the cause of Labor than I ever have been. And I know from your attendance today that you are too. Thanks very much.